Okay, hi everyone. We are going to take some notes on Objective 10. You got to explore it on your own using the gizmo, but we want to make sure we have correct information down and go over it together as well. So these are super important notes as they're the foundation of what you'll refer back to as we move on and use Objective 10 to solve the case of Jared and also to apply it to some other scenarios in life as well. So you can start by titling your paper Objective 10. And our objective here is to be able to use models to explain the process and importance of cellular respiration. Okay, so embedded in there is looking at the transformation of matter and how we shuffle those atoms around to make new molecules, and in the meantime are able to convert energy from chemical energy into usable energy. So we're looking at all that when we're talking about that process of cellular respiration, using models, using images to do this and kind of explain what we're looking at in those models. So we're going to take a look at this kind of like it's a game. If any of you have played video games or like, I forgot what the game's called. There's like an NFL game where you can like pick your players and then you're playing on the football field against another team, and each like player that comes up, you get to pick like your player based on the powers you want, right? And there's different levels in a lot of games too. Mario Kart, you can pick all your players. What else have I played? I don't know. I'm sure you've played many more video games than I have, but or maybe not. I don't know. But we're going to look at this here. So in every game you play, there's a goal, right? There's a purpose that you're playing. You're trying to do a certain thing. And so in this game of cellular respiration, our goal is going to be two things. First of all, we have a goal in terms of matter. And second of all, we have a goal in terms of energy. Now, these both go hand in hand. You have to shuffle around matter to convert those energy forms. But in terms of matter, our goal is to break glucose, the glucose that we eat, and break glucose to make ATP. Those are the two molecules we're working with. We're trying to break apart glucose to make ATP. And as we do that, we are going to have this goal of release chemical energy, which is stored in glucose, to make usable energy, which is stored in ATP. So that's the goal of this game. We somehow have to take glucose and break it apart to make ATP, and in doing so, somehow release this chemical energy to make usable energy. So first we're going to take a look at the players. Who can you pick between when you're choosing who you want to be as you play this video game? So I'm going to just draw some lines so you can see how much we're trying to fit. We are going to work with 1, 2, an arrow, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 different players that you can choose between when you are getting ready to play this game. So the first player you could choose is glucose. And we'll just leave it at that. Glucose, or C6H12O6. I'll write the chemical formula above. And if you choose glucose, here's glucose's powers, or what it can do. So glucose is full of energy. But this energy can't really be used. It's just full of energy that can't be used. Okay, that's glucose. If you pick glucose, you have a ton of energy, but you can't quite use it. Where is this molecule going to shine? Where is it going to really have a role in your video game? Well, if you choose glucose, you're going to have a large role in level 1 called glycolysis. Okay. Another player you could choose is oxygen. There are 6 oxygen molecules in cellular respiration. If you choose oxygen, you get to work with 6 little guys, and these are madly in love with electrons. They love electrons, and so their power is the power and the strength of love. So we'll write that below. They love electrons. So maybe you think that love is so powerful that you want to choose these little 6 in love players. Now, these guys are going to work the best in level 3, which is the electron transport chain. I will shorten that to ETC. Now, on the other side of this arrow, we have 3 other players you could choose from. The first is carbon dioxide. I didn't leave myself enough space. Again, if you choose carbon dioxide, you get 6 little guys, 6 CO2 that you are in control of. And now, these guys are a waste product for the human who's trying to break glucose and make ATP, but they're helpful for plants, so maybe you want to, help grow plants. I don't know. And you choose this carbon dioxide player. I'm going to write down here, it's a waste product, but helps plants, And these guys are going to be best at the Krebs cycle level, which is level 2. So when you get to level 2, if you choose this player, you will have an extra advantage in that level. So these guys are on the Krebs cycle level, level 2. Next, we have water. So again, if you choose water, there are 6 of you that you're in control of, or 6 little guys you're in control of. And, these are just kind of little average players. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just kind of average. They kind of just do their thing. And where they'll help you out is in level 3, the level which takes place in the electron transport chain. Okay. Finally, we have ATP. This is that molecule that stores usable energy. So if you choose to be ATP, there's actually 38 guys that you are going to be in control of, and these guys all contain usable energy. So you'll have lots and lots of energy, and where these guys shine, if you choose this player, is in level 4 and level 3 at the electron transport chain and ATP synthase. Okay. So those are our players. Glucose, full of energy that can't be used. Oxygen loves electrons. You could be carbon dioxide, a waste product, but it helps plants. Water, which is like, it's not great, it's not bad like CO2, but it's there, it does its job, and it's really advantageous at level 2. Or you can be ATP, which is usable energy, but you're in control of a lot of people. 38 guys you have to watch out for during the game if you choose ATP, that usable energy. So let's take a look at the setting for this game. Each level takes place in a different location. Okay, so the setting is the mitochondria of a cell. You can choose if you want to, you'll get different views just a little bit if you decide to be in a plant, an animal, or a person's mitochondria. But they're all pretty similar, the same levels, just in different settings. And so we're going to draw this mitochondria so you can see what the overview of each playing field is. So we're going to start. And I'm actually going to color code this with colored pencils. I'm going to use red. I should have just started with red. If you have colored pencils, great. If not, it's totally fine. Sometimes colors just help me to see better. So I have red there. I'm going to use brown for this next piece. And I'm going to color in green this center structure inside the brown. Okay, so this is a map of the field. These are all the different locations you could be in depending on the level that you're at. So we just cut a mitochondria in half. We're looking inside of it. And we'll label these pieces. So first of all, out here, we have the cytoplasm of the cell. And this right here is the mitochondria, the whole thing. Just over here to the side, I'll make a little color key in red. I drew the outer membrane of the mitochondria. In blue, I drew the intermembrane space. In brown, I drew the inner membrane. Oops. And in green, I drew the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, so now let's take a look. When you are at level 1, you are out here in the cytoplasm. So we'll just draw a little star out here and write level 1, glycolysis. This is where glycolysis occurs, level 1. That's where you always have to go first, out here in the cytoplasm. From there, you can travel into level 2, which happens all the way inside here in the mitochondrial matrix. And we'll just write Krebs for short, but this is where the Krebs cycle takes place. And finally, you can make it to levels 3 and 4. Both of those take place right here in the inner membrane. So I'm just going to draw an arrow. And this is level 3 and 4, where we have the ETC, the electron transport chain, and ATP synthase. Okay, so we know our goal. This is your goal in the game, to break glucose to make ATP, doing this in the process. Here's the players you can choose to be as you play this game, and here is where it takes place in this mitochondria of a cell. You can choose plant, animal, or person because all of them have a mitochondria. Now this up here is the formula for cellular respiration in addition to just being players, so that's also important to know. This is your equation. We're going to head down below and we are going to summarize what happens in each of these levels. So as you move through those levels, you want to start with glucose and eventually end with ATP in level 4. So we're moving on up through these levels with this in mind. So, level 1. In level 1 of the game, this stage is called level 1, glycolysis. Your job is to break glucose which has 6 carbons inside of it, into pyruvate, or into 2 pyruvate molecules. Pyruvate has 3 carbons inside of it. So you're going from a 6-carbon sugar molecule, you want to break that apart into 2 3-carbon molecules that are nice and small so they can travel from level 1 into level 2. As you do this, you will be releasing, so break glucose into 2-pyruvate to release energy that will be stored in ATP and electrons that will be carried by NADH to the electron transport chain eventually when you get to level 3. Okay, so glycolysis, your first step is to break that glucose into 2 smaller molecules, releasing some energy. Okay, maybe I'll write that there. 2 ATP are released. Next, we go to level 2. Level 2 is called the Krebs cycle. Here, you have to go through a whole cycle of events, acting fast and quick to break down this 3-carbon molecule even more. Every time we break apart carbons, we release more energy, and we want to release as much energy as possible so we can convert it into ATP. Here, you must break pyruvate, those little 3-carbon guys, even further. Break pyruvate down, I should say. Down even further. To release more energy which will be stored in ATP, 2 more, and electrons, which again will be carried in NADH. Level 3. You are just in the mitochondrial matrix, completing the daunting Krebs cycle, and now you've made it into this inner membrane. A lot is going on in this inner membrane. Level 3 is called the electron transport chain. The goal here is to get oxygen, our little oxygen that's in love with electrons. Get oxygen its electrons. Got a little romance going on. So we want to get oxygen its electrons, and as we're getting the electrons to oxygen, use the electrons' energy to pump hydrogen ions from the matrix in the green to the blue, from the matrix to the intermembrane space. That is your goal in level 3. Once you have completed that, you get to the final step, the spinning wheel of ATP synthase in level 4. Here, you use the hydrogen ions in the intermembrane space to power ATP synthase and make ATP. At that point, you have officially completed all levels and beat the game. You broke glucose in level 1, moved around some energy and some molecules to eventually finally make ATP in level 4. Now, again, level 1, glycolysis, takes place out here in the cytoplasm near all the other organelles. Break glucose. Just have to quickly, simply break it apart. Break it apart. Next, level 2, you're all the way in here in this green substance. It's actually not green in real life, but here it's green. You're going through a cycle of events. They move quickly. You have to work to break pyruvate down even further, releasing energy and electrons. Once you've beat that level, you now have the electrons needed and the energy needed to go to level 3, where you must quickly get oxygen its electrons. And as you get oxygen its electrons, you can use the energy from those electrons to pump hydrogen ions from the matrix into the inner intermembrane space. Finally, once you got those hydrogen ions where they need to be out here in the intermembrane space, you can pump them, or you can send them back through ATP synthase, which is sitting in this membrane, and that will end up making ATP. Therefore, you have completed your task. All right, go ahead and check out the next video for a drawing.